Hello and welcome to Reiki Women Podcasts. And today we have a snapshot with the very beautiful Deb. Hello, Deb. How are you?
Hello, Bronwen. I am super well and super happy to be chatting with you.
I wanted to have a chat to you. Now, Deb's in Melbourne, yes, and Deb's got an interesting surname, which is pronounced DL. I know this.
You're
right?
so impressed that you say it correctly.
But it's spelled Dalziel, Dalziel.
Yeah.
Very unusual. I think I know it because there was a cop show once on TV that had.
It was, a Scottish, English Scottish show, and that's how everyone now knows how to say my name.
Yeah,
I love
so
that.
Very fortunate. And now Deb's in Melbourne in Australia, and we've known each other for years. And Deb has her own Reiki practice there where she teaches and does treatments. And it's called the Melbourne Reiki Centre, correct?
That's right. Yep.
And so if you're looking for her, I'll include the link and you'll be able to find her through that. So Deb's going to talk to us a little bit about how she got into the system of Reiki. So Deb, tell me all about it.
I think that the system of Reiki is such a fascinating practice in general, and people can come at it from many different ways. I like to think that all of a sudden I became more aware of energy and then found you guys and studied with you. But really, I feel that my first ever experience was when I was in my 20s and trekking through Borneo. And a lady there, had travelled a long way hiking and through a river in boats, and arrived in an Iban Long village. And when we arrived, one of the other people on our group tripped and twisted their ankle. And our exquisite guide said, I do, and I still don't remember what she said. The words have not landed. I've not kept them. But she said something like, Reiki, I do, and I can help you. And this girl was in so much pain from twisting her ankle that straight away she was like, anything. And our guide did Reiki like this with her hands over the woman's ankle. And I remember it to this day, because we went from being a bustly group of about 6 or 8 of us or something like that, chat, and we were just getting out of our wet clothes and changing in this room. And all of a sudden we all went really quiet, and we changed quietly, and we exited. And I remember instinctively thinking, what's that? Like, what is that? And I need to know more about that. And then I went back to my crazy mental stress head kind of existence and never thought about it again. And years later, when I studied Reiki with yourselves, I remembered and went, oh, I have experienced Reiki before, but not through a treatment on myself, but through that interaction with that other person receiving a healing treatment. And I looked back through my photo album. Yes, people, I am that old, not online, but an actual old album. And there was the photo of me that I took, of them that I took performing Reiki. It hit me at such a deep core level. That's when I know I really wanted to learn Reiki, but my busy mind wasn't ready to come on the journey. And it was later on, when I had done many other trainings and development of working with the mind, so transforming your mind, which I think is a key part of Reiki. And it wasn't until then that all of a sudden I was more in tune with this energy in my body and started doing it and learning. So that's sort of, in a way, how I came to Reiki. Was just all of a sudden I wanted to learn, but really it was implanted way back in my 20s.
That's lovely. And so at the time when you started training, what were you doing, and what led from that into this?
Well, once again, I always reflect, like I always think, I wonder what I'm going to talk about myself in the future, what I'm saying now. So I think sometimes we were talking earlier that I don't like recordings, because I'm like, well, that's what I'm thinking now, but I don't know if I'll think the same thing in the future. But at the time, I remember getting your book. I should have got it out, the Inner Heart of Reiki book. I think the
Japanese Art of Reiki.
Yes, that one. Oh, see, I call it heart. There you go. That's just how I remember that book, because it obviously landed in my heart. And I remember reading that before the course, and you sent it to me and you signed it.
Right.
And I had all of these profound experiences from that book. I could feel the energy. And then I did a lot of the practices, Joshin Kokyo Ho, Kenyoko Ho, just reading the book.
Yeah.
Because I was very diligent, because I was very in my mind that you should know things. So I still didn't fully understand. Reiki's not about necessarily intellectually knowing things, but that's where I was approaching it from. So I found the book amazing. And I ended up with blood clots on the end of my toes. And I went, oh, that's weird. I wonder if that's come from doing all this energy work, and ended up healing one, just putting my hands over my toes, and one went away and one didn't. And I just knew when I came to the course, it would go. So for me, I had profound experience just reading a book. And I remember thinking, wow, if you can get this from a book, imagine what the course will be, what the course would be like. This will be amazing. So I just, from there, just did Reiki for me. It was the whole thing was I just loved how it settled my anxiety. It gave me this sense of spaciousness between the energy that would be percolating inside of me that I didn't understand and was sometimes erratic, and not having to make a decision from that. It really provided that space. And prior to that, I had done lots of yoga, so physically grounding and centering and getting my energy flowing, as well as meditation. So I had been doing that for quite a lot of years before I learnt Reiki. But how I landed from that experience with yourselves and then doing each of the courses and just seeing that I became more centered, more grounded, more present in my whole being, was that I started doing treatments because I enjoyed it. And then all of a sudden more people came and more people came. And I thought, oh, well, I'm enjoying it. They're enjoying it. So then I just started offering treatments. It was a really organic experience. I never thought I would teach, ever, 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 ever. And even though my background is in corporate training and facilitation and things, it still wasn't on the radar. That was what people, you know, as magical as you and Franz and Inamata Haidt and all these other people did, all these other amazing people did. I was just a student. And one day I was in a coffee shop. The people knew me quite well, a bit of an addiction there, my coffee addiction. And they I'd said, what are you doing here during the day? You're not normally here during the day. And I said, oh, I'm doing Reiki treatments today. And this beautiful person said, oh my goodness, we have been wanting to learn. Would you teach us? And I remember thinking, oh yes, I'll hand over the card and they can come to you guys up there in the beautiful Blue Mountains and they can study. That's what I always did, just referred people on. But all of a sudden, I literally felt it from my hara. This word came up and out of my mouth came the word yes. And I remember energetically feeling the energy of that word and me standing there and my mind saying, no, we don't do that. And the energy saying, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. We will. So I decided, oh, that's just for me today. I'm going to teach these two beautiful people. It's going to help my energy practice. It's going to help me get better at the practices, because we know whenever we teach something, we actually have to, it helps us become better at practice in order to teach. And then that'll be it. But I taught these two beautiful women and I didn't look back. That was it. I was hooked. And it just was organic from there. And I still today treat, even though, you know, we call it a business for tax reasons or whatever, I still really treat it like that. Like if people show up, if it's the right person and I'm the right teacher and that's how it's meant to flow, it's like that same yes coming out again. It's like that same organic, oh yes, today it's a yes between you and me and these beautiful teachings from Asui. We're practicing. And so I think that's sort of how I approach my practice today. And that's how I began, was a simple little yes.
So you had, as you said, a very strong history as a trainer. That's what you did and still do in a way. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, yeah, just depends what you train, what you're teaching, right?
The content, yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested as a woman, you know, how that was working in the corporate world as a trainer. And though I think there probably are a lot of female trainers in the corporate world. Yeah, there are. It's quite a thing. And what do you think women bring to that? You know, that whole thing of training. Why are there so many?
I think it's a mixture. I mean, I can only speak from myself and then the people I know, that we have this ability to empathize without going into sympathy, which I think is an important thing, because that's where compassion, we really want to have that compassion arise. So we can see what is needed. We can have this really broad sense of it, and we can be really diligent and organized. So I know when you run something like what we do, you're doing everything in the business. You're not just doing an aspect. And that ability to teach and see different perspectives and also do the logistics on the other side, I think is something that women do bring. And we're not always looking for someone outside to do that for us. I think that's a really
That's very true.
unique. I think that's a really unique quality. We might have a community. We might get a community and want to support that community.
Yeah.
I know once again, I can only speak from me. One of my loves is supporting others. And I think women generally love supporting others. So for me, it's also supporting any students that come through me. And helping them become whatever it is they're meant to. Maybe they're meant to keep going with Reiki. Maybe it spurs them on to some other practice or modality that's really meant in their path. Yeah. And if anything I can do can help them with that, I think that's something that I really think women do bring, is that ability, but then that nurturing ability to let go. I don't know if every woman's like that, but being able to also let go, not stay attached. I don't need to stay attached to people and keep checking in on them like you would with a child. You're there to nurture, but at the end of the day, the child has to support themselves and
it's a bit
walk
controlling,
their own path.
really. I mean,
it is. But for me, that's something I think that it's that ability to sort of step away as much as be there, that combination.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I don't know. I think there's a connection in communication that's lovely with women as well. I think I don't have the words for it actually, but when I'm in a group of women practicing Reiki, there's another unspoken, almost a Taoist level of energy that seems to, and wisdom that just seems to populate the practice, which is not negating any of the amazing people that identify as male and they practice. It's not negating any of that, because some of them are different. But I think it's the energy. And I really, and the non-doing,
respond differently to each other, you know. And when you're with a group of women, there is this sense of as you say, support, and there can be an openness that perhaps is different to an openness that we might experience with men, possibly.
And I also hope that there's an aspect of that that's more about the femininity in each person and the masculinity in each person, which we all have, all those energies, you know, heaven and earth, and that the interplay that some of the younger, I'm really fortunate, I train quite a lot of younger people, and especially the men I find are a bit more in tune with that real feminine presence. And so even though, yes, they might, from an anatomical perspective, or might identify as a male, inside they have this expansive sort of presence that is very is still very in touch with that feminine energy, and that is exciting to sort of see coming through a lot more as well.
So beautiful. Okay, that's really lovely. And now, just before we go, I know there was one, I haven't spoken to you for a while, so it's nice.
I know.
There's one precept that you said that you were interested in, and I thought it'd be lovely just to do it. Let's have a little quick chat about that, because the precepts are so integral to everything. So what precept is it that you feel drawn to relate your interest in today?
I really have been spending a lot of time with the precept, to be honest. Be honest in one of the translations is be honest in your work, or for me, I sort of love saying just be honest in all I do or in all I experience. And I love that one because for me, how do we know we're really being honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we can't be really honest with ourselves, it's going to be so much harder to be honest around others, or in our actions, or in our words, or in our speech, whether it's written, spoken, whatever. And for me, honesty is also linked to the environment that you're in. So it's not necessarily a fixed entity. Honesty may shift and change depending on circumstances. What is seen as honest in one situation, you then later on go, oh, I thought I was being honest, and now I realize I know more, and now this is my trueness. This is what is honest in what I'm doing. So I love that precept, because I feel it helps me see if I'm worried, or see if there's anger arising. Where's that honesty? I think for me it's a lovely precept to sit within and explore. So yeah, and it also brings me back to what are the boundaries I need in my life for me as a person. So what's honest for me? What do I honestly need in this moment? And that doesn't mean I don't respect others or what others need, but it helps me communicate what I need more when I'm able to be more honest with myself. So I think that's one that, I probably, when I first started learning Reiki, I was like, oh, don't be worried, because I was so worried. And then, oh, look at all these things I'm angry about. But I suppose, I do find that the more honest I am, the easier those things, I'm not reacting to those things, and the compassion just naturally arises. So I find that honest precept really powerful in my life.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. In the last podcast that I did with Michaela and Carrie, we talked about the stories that we make about our lives and ourselves, and how often, they're stories, they're not actually truth. And Michaela had a really good one, and she was like, when I hope she doesn't, I mean, she's already said it on there, but when she was just saying that when she got divorced, she was very much like, well, it was all that other person's fault, problem, blah blah blah, and felt very much like, that was the story. But then thought, my story is that I'm always right. That's what she was thinking, and to have to come to that, and that's a truth in yourself, and that, we can't always be right, obviously. So, but feeling that, I'm always right. And, we create these ideas about ourselves, and it's very difficult to fight our way beneath that level of understanding. When we have these stories, they're so fixed in us, and to find truths, beneath that, is incredibly difficult, and such a slog to work through to find that.
Oh, that's a great example. And we're doing that all the time. And so I suppose, like, we talked about, the recording, like, this is what I'm saying now, but later I'll come back and I'll go, oh, now I have more understanding, and that's not what I think anymore.
Yeah.
I feel that even at the beginning of this talk, I told my first story was, I don't know Reiki, or I don't teach Reiki. But is that true? If energy is all pervading, was that really the first time? And if I don't teach Reiki, but if I was telling people and sharing the card to go and study it, am I not teaching in that? So that story of, oh, I don't teach Reiki, that's right. Yeah. So for me, that's
interesting, isn't it?
It's an interesting one. And I really do like the idea, though, that when you're ready, that's a beautiful example of the divorce and realizing the stories, that when you're ready, those stories will appear, and then you have choice with what you do with that information. Yeah.
We can teach ourselves so much.
Yes.
Deb, it's been such a joy having you here, and
thank you for having me. Chat to you for ages. I enjoy your company. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. And we will do it again sometime. Yeah,
that'd be amazing. Thank you.
Lots of love.
Thanks, Bronwen. Bye.